Mike Wilbon, it's apparently National Legwear Day. Tony, what's your legwear situation today?
I'm Tony Kornheiser. Au natural. That's what we got.
Okay.
Au natural.
I thought zippered compression was the way you was prescribed. I thought you were going in that direction with a lot of us. No?
Yeah, that's on my right ankle, which is ridiculously swollen. But I'm sitting at home. I don't have to wear pants. Come on. I just have to wear those
Come
socks.
on now.
Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Danny Dimes does it again. Clemson loses again, and Ben Johnson wins for the first time. But we begin today with the most dramatic ending yesterday in a day of dramatic endings where 5 different games ended on the last play with no time left on the clock. But the Eagles' blocked field goal in return for a touchdown against the Rams was simply insane. Down 27-26, the Rams were lined up for the winning field goal. And Eagles big man Jordan Davis blocked the kick, then scooped up the ball and carried it and his 336 pounds, 61 yards for 33-26 victory in Philadelphia. Wilbon, what does this dramatic result say about each team?
You know, it just says the same thing in relation to both teams. The Eagles, as I said last week when I replaced the Packers with the Eagles atop the Wilbon Power ratings, the Eagles are the best team. They're the best team in the league. Any discussion of dethroning anybody and winning the Super Bowl, being the best team, being number 1 ranked, it runs through Philadelphia. It runs through the Eagles because they can beat you any way you need to be beaten. They can beat you down running the ball and playing defense. God knows Jalen Hurts, if he needs to, he didn't yesterday, but if he needed to, he can throw it and lead the Eagles that way. Special teams can get them a win. They're champions, Tony.
That's right.
And they're big and bad and bold. They're well coached.
Yep.
They believe in what they're doing, and everybody else is second right now. The Rams, they come close twice. They're not ready yet. They're not.
So that was the craziest ending of the day. And I want to deal with people who bet on the Rams because their heads exploded at that moment. The Rams were getting 3.5 points. So, Mike, when they line up for the field goal, they're down 1. Even if the field goal doesn't go, they're still going to cover because they're only down 1. In this case, they go down 7. They don't cover, and they watch as a 336-pound man goes to the other side of the field. That is horrific if you are gambling on the Rams, because the Rams at one point, I think, were up 26-7, something like really good when they had to be really, really good. And for the first time in 2 years, Mike, we're not talking about the Eagles in the context of the tush push. We're now talking about the Eagles' hearts, not their tushes.
Best team. Tony, you know, we just signed an extension. I didn't know you were angling for an ESPN bet job. When are you going to do that? You and Joe Fortenbaugh? You and Joe Fortenbaugh going to do? You're going to nudge me out? I'm just saying. I don't understand anything you said.
I don't want it. I know the number. I know the number. I know it was.
All that stuff. I pay no attention. So we're going to set aside now the Eagles and the Bills, who won Thursday, and discuss the NFL's other unbeatens. The 49ers topped the Cardinals. The Bucs edged the Jets. The Chargers scraped by the Broncos. And the Colts and Daniel Indiana Jones, I hate that nickname, but I really do like it. I'm starting to grow on me.
I like it.
Dominated the Titans. So which one stands out to you?
Okay, so the perverse side of me wants to start with the Colts because they are 3-0. They got no business being 3-0. Nobody thought they were going to be 3-0. At quarterback, they have Daniel Jones, who you will remember the Giants got rid of. The Giants, who are now 0-3. And if you watched last night, they have no quarterback and they can't score any touchdowns. So Jones has been terrific. The Colts have been terrific. They've scored 103 points in 3 games. None of Peyton Manning's teams at the Colts started the season with 103 points in 3 games, and they've only punted once all year. But that's the perverse side of me. I think, in all fairness, you have to start with the Chargers. The Chargers did to the Broncos what the Eagles did to the Rams. They came back late. They were down 17-10 in the third. They were down 20-13 with about 3 minutes to go in the fourth, something like that. And you know, Justin Herbert, he's really good, right? I mean, he really delivers the ball.
I'm going to make the case.
Through that late touchdown pass, then got him in position for the winning field goal. They're a formidable team, Mike.
Tony, it's definitely the Chargers for me. And everybody else did fine work. By the way, how did the Giants feel about no Saquon Barkley and no Daniel Jones? Who the two of them are 6-0, and then the Giants still looking to win a game. It's the Chargers, okay? Because the Chargers have Harbaugh and Herbert. I said this last week. I'm repeating myself just like I did with the Eagles. Listen, you can make the case, and I'm never going. I'm going to set Patrick Mahomes aside because he too just does whatever he has to do, including recovering a fumble on the ground to help his team win a game. So I'm going to set Patrick Mahomes and his Super Bowl rings aside. If you ask me who I'm going to take right now, the answer is Justin Herbert, man. And I will get to my man Caleb in the future, you know, a couple of years from now. I mean, want him. Herbert's in that place. What is he, in his 5th or 6th season? He's got a coach who is perfect for him, who pumps him up and makes him feel great. And he's got all the requisite skills and the arm you need. And now he's got a team. And Jim Jim, not John. Jim Harbaugh's not going to let them take a nap. He's not going to do that, Tony. The Charge, and they've beaten 3 division opponents.
Yeah, they've gone through that schedule very well. And I don't want to give short shrift to the 49ers or to Tampa Bay. The 49ers, they're pretty much running on fumes. Bosa just went out. Yeah. He's out for the rest of the season. They're on a second-string quarterback. They don't have any offense. They average less than 20 points a game. Their entire total, 3-0. They are plus 10. And if you think that's low, Tampa Bay's plus 6. That's all they are. Tampa Bay has won their first 3 games in the last minute of the game. The first team ever in the NFL to open 3 wins last minute, because Baker Mayfield is a stud this year and has been for a couple of years. Let's move. Let's move to your division, Mike, the NFC North. Let's look at the 3 results from yesterday. The Packers lost to the Browns in the last second. The Vikings, without J.J. McCarthy, destroyed Cincinnati 48-10. And your Bears got on the board, beating Dallas handily 31-14. So I will ask you, fearing your hometown answer, which was the biggest result of these 3?
Well, the biggest result was probably the Packers going down in Cleveland to a great defense, but a team that can't score. Jordan Love throwing that stupid interception late. That warmed my heart nearly as much as watching Caleb Williams go for 4 touchdowns and no picks, and the first time he's played a game in the NFL without being sacked. That's pretty big news, too. Now, do I believe the Bears are going to automatically go on some roll based on that first game? No, because our defense isn't any good. The Bears defense it's nearly as bad as Dallas's defense, which stinks. The Cowboys rushed for an average of 6+ yards per rush in that game against the Bears yesterday, who got some turnovers, who came up with some really nice plays defensively against that passing game and a strip fumble. The Bears were
I know that you went to the Bears game yesterday. I know you sat with your boys, Richard Dent and
Otis, my man. Wilson.
Otis Wilson.
Yes.
Otis Wilson. I know you saw Caleb Williams' dad before the game. I know Caleb Williams had a great game, and as you point out, no sacks for the first time. But it warms my heart to hear you admit that the bigger deal was the Packers losing to the Browns. Okay? Yeah. Because 2 weeks ago, not last week, but 2 weeks ago, you had the Packers in the Super Bowl, and nobody thinks the Browns are even going to win 6 games. Right, and the Browns aren't going to do it. The Browns defense they have no offense, but the Browns' defense was tremendous. They chased Jordan Love all over the field. They sacked him 5 times, so he looked like Caleb Williams used to look. They held that team to 2.6 yards per rush. They held them to 10 points in the game and no points in the fourth quarter, and they too blocked the kick. Everybody blocked the kick yesterday, and they won late, and that was tremendously surprising. Neither of us can make a judgment on Minnesota because when both starting quarterbacks are out and you get a result, you don't know what it means. You honestly don't know what it means with Minnesota. So it is the Packers, and that was a big deal. Let's take a break. Coming up, Indiana smashed Illinois on Saturday, but there was a more intriguing result, but was there a more intriguing result from the college football weekend?
And the Mariners sweep the Stros, so which race in baseball now deserves our attention the most? Yeah, Tony, watch it with Denton or Wilson. You know how much I feel I know today? Guys who are great players calling out things before they happen. It was like they had a direct line to the field when they were screaming at the Bears, run the damn ball. They ran it 11 times in a row.
Have you ever seen so many blocked field goals? Have you ever seen anything like this?
No, because there's never been 4 like in 1 week or something. It was crazy.
Wow. Cleveland kicked.
Pardon the Interruption is brought to you by.
Time to find out what matters to the masses.
American Cruise Lines. Small ship cruising done perfectly.
I pay too much for cable to channels you want.
Time to find out what matters to the masses. I got the mailbox here. Let me put on my glasses.
Indiana beat Illinois 170-2. That was a stunner to me because I thought those two teams were even. If you'd asked me, okay, going in, who's going to win this game? Indiana had some home field advantage. Illinois slightly higher ranked. I thought it was going to be a tussle. It was no tussle. What the hell happened to the Illini? I cannot get over the result. And I know Cignetti, I realize the coach of Indiana is really good at what he does, even if he annoys the hell out of a lot of us in the Midwest. He's really, really good. To the Illini, I cannot get over the result. And I know Cignetti, I realize the coach of Indiana is really good at what he does, even if he annoys the hell out of a lot of us in the Midwest. He's really, really good.
This is the fact that Bill Belichick's team lost to Central Florida 34-9, which is bad, as is Miami suffocating Florida. But there is no doubt in my mind that the biggest news is Clemson losing at home to Syracuse.
Dabo,
34-21. That's unthinkable to me. Earlier this year, Syracuse gave up more points, 24, to Colgate than they just gave up at Clemson. To me, Mike, and to you too, this starts the clock on Dabo Swinney. I'm not saying that anyone's going to fire him, but I don't think we're going to hear another whiny press conference. And I think he's got to start thinking in his mind, where is the soft landing for me? Wow. Is there some other place I want to coach than here?
Because I think
that's unbelievable to lose to Syracuse at home. It's unbelievable.
It is.
It is.
It's shocking.
What's next?
Shocking.
What's next? It's the final week of the baseball season. Which race are you most interested in?
Well, I'm still interested. I know that the Mariners just sort of put some distance between themselves and the Stros. I get they went down to Houston and they went. I still care about the National League, and I know the National League is not as interesting as the American League. So I'm going to take something that, again, as a child of the Midwest, interests me specifically, and that's Cleveland and Detroit. That shouldn't have been a race. I mean, Detroit led by such a wide margin some weeks ago that I would just look at the standings and go, okay, I'll check back when we start doing the seedings the 1st of October. There was no way the Guardians could catch the Tigers, and now they can. And so it's that race head-to-head, Tony, head-to-head.
I understand that. Detroit was up by 15.5 games. They're now up by 1, and they got to go to Cleveland starting tomorrow night, I believe, for 3 games. But that collapse is not close to the Mets. I am looking at the wild card, the third wild card in the National League, where the Mets are now even with Cincinnati, child of the Midwest, and one ahead of Arizona. On August 1st, the Mets record was 62-47, and since then they are 18-29, and Buster Olney told us last week if they don't make the wild card, it's going to be the biggest collapse in history. And I just want to say one thing about that game yesterday that they lost to the Nats. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Nats. Jacob Young made one of the greatest catches I have ever seen yesterday.
He made two great catches.
But the first one, he takes the home run over the wall, brings it back, and then loses the ball. The ball is falling to the ground. He kicks it with his right foot, kicks it in the air, and makes the catch, and it's an out. And that is just a marvelous catch. Absolutely marvelous catch. It's enough email. Let's take one last break. Still to come, Bruce Pearl makes a surprising career decision.
What's the big takeaway from the Chiefs beating the Giants? The Cubs went in the tank, hadn't lost 4 games in a row all season, and just gave 4 to Cincinnati. Now, I understand resting people. I understand getting the playoffs
to be in the playoffs. The Mets could
just, it's kind of...
Happy 76th birthday, Harold Carmichael.
589 in yards, 8,978, and in receiving touchdowns, 79. Carmichael, a 7th-round draft pick out of Southern, had his best season in 1973 when Roman Gabriel was the Eagles' quarterback. They combined for 67 receptions and 1,116 yards, best in the NFL. After Gabriel, Carmichael's quarterback was our great friend Ron Jaworski. Jaws to Carmichael resulted in 335 receptions over 7 seasons. And Carmichael was the NFL's Man of the Year in 1980.
And if you think Harold Carmichael in those clips looks a little bit bigger than the defensive backs trying to cover him, that's because he's 6'8", and they're not. But just a great receiver and a great dude.
A not-so-happy anniversary, Mario Cristobal. On this day 7 years ago, the then Oregon coach opted not to kneel and run out the clock with his Ducks up 3 at Stanford's 42 and under a minute left. Oregon fumbled, and Stanford drove down the length of the field for a tying field goal and ultimately a shocking victory. Cristobal did the same thing in 2023 coaching Miami and lost to Georgia Tech. But Cristobal is sitting pretty in Coral Gables right now. His 4-0 Canes beat in-state rival Florida on Saturday, and they've beaten Notre Dame in South Florida. And now number 2 Miami will play number 8 Florida State in 2 Saturdays for the mythical championship of the Sunshine State.
Tony, seems like we're in a position where Miami could be national champion again. And I don't know that anybody started the year thinking or talking about them going that far, being that good. But look, it seems possible, doesn't it?
Well, they're up to 2 already. So, it does. Happy trails to coaching for Bruce Pearl. The Auburn coach is stepping down to become an ambassador for the athletic department. In his place, the school gave a 5-year deal to his son, Stephen. Pearl is 65. He has had terrific teams at Milwaukee, Tennessee, and Auburn, which made the Final Four last season and in 2019. His decision comes about a year after Tony Bennett did the same thing at UVA. Pearl said he will not run for the U.S. Senate, something that had been rumored.
Tony, he become a divisive person, it seems to me, intentionally. And I hope there was pressure to just get him out.
Really?
Yeah,
I always liked him. He was such a great guest. Yeah, we're on the other side on him. A melancholy trails to Bernie Parent. The Hall of Fame goaltender has died at the age of 80. Parent was in the net for the Flyers' only 2 Stanley Cup championships during their Broad Street Bullies era with Bobby Clarke. Over a 13-year career, he made 5 All-Star teams. He won 2 Vezina trophies as the NHL's top goaltender and 2 Conn Smythes as playoff MVP. And we have now lost 3 legendary goalies just this month: Parent, Eddie Giacomin, and Ken Dryden.
From a time, Tony, where not everybody had a mask all the time at the beginning of their careers. Sad to lose them. Some things don't need to come in threes, that's for sure.
One omission, Rockets starting point guard Fred VanVleet reportedly tore his right ACL, Mike.
That could be team altering. That's a huge loss for the Rockets, Tone. Sad to hear that.
Yeah. Let's go to the big finish if we could.
Let's do it.
The Texans, they're 0-3 after losing to the Jaguars. There's cause for concern, right?
Yeah, because they're wasting a great defense. They can't score at all. Yes, concerned if you're there. The Chiefs beat the Giants. Were you impressed with that win?
Okay, the Chiefs had to win that game. The Giants aren't any good. You know, they got a problem at quarterback. They're not any good. The Fever beat the Aces in game 1. Did that make sense to you?
No. And the Aces, after winning 17 in a row, have now been off form 3 games. That's just a little weird. The Falcons replaced Michael Penix Jr. in game with Kirk Cousins late yesterday. Your read on that?
My read is that they're not going to bench Penix, but it's a little too soon to anoint him as the greatest player in the world. And they got a guy they're paying millions to on the bench. You put him in the game. Doesn't mean they change. Last one, Monday Night Football, Lions at Ravens. Who you got tonight?
All right, that's a great matchup. I got skin in that game from an emotional standpoint, so I'm rooting for the Ravens to take out the Lions. I want to see if the Lions are the team they were that lost to the Packers, the team up north in week 1, or the team that beat the daylights out of my Bears in week 2.
Ravens are a really good regular season team. I expect them to win. Their problem's in the playoffs. We're out of time. We're going to try to do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
And I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, knuckleheads. And now to get you set for Monday Night Football, here's Scott Van Pelt and the Countdown Crew.